One doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat, not here, but other places, it takes a lot of work.
I do want to ask a follow-up. When we were talking about what is capable, what you need to do to be able to plan a coup, and you cited your expertise having planned coups.
I'm not going to get into the specifics, but
successval coups?
Well, I wrote about Venezuela in the book, and it turned out not to be successful.
I've read Marx. I've read Engels. I've read Das Kapital.
The world is run by Trotskyists.
Hardcore Trotskyites.
How great an anti-American Marxist.
They're controlled by Trotskyists, as you put it, and these are the most evil, sick human beings on the face of the planet.
This is the most beatable Republican ticket ever. It's like as soon as like J.B. Pritzker and Tim Walz came up, I was like, they would be really good. People would like them. So I'm sure they won't go with them. Like,
all right, stop sprinting. Leave it to the Democrats that they could always snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They could try to put on like Waltz or someone who's kind of progressive, which would be good. But I'm surprised now the most reactionary person they could pick was the governor of North Carolina. He dropped out. So that's it. Now, Shapiro, you did mention him. He called the pro-Palestine events, they were equivalent to KKK rallies. Yeah.
Yep.
That's Democrats. I swear they just want to fucking lose. It's just, oh my God. Here we go. Hi, everyone. And welcome to the Left Opposition Podcast. Matt and Doug have the night off, and I'm with Joe and Aaron today.
Hey,
I feel like a news broadcaster. This is great, man. I should do the intro more often. This is neat.
It's fun. It's fun, right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you for tuning in, folks. So on today's episode, we will be talking about the Venezuelan election, because right now it's pretty big. This is a special episode. Normally, we sometimes we do every other week, but this is too big right now. We do want to talk about it. So let's go with it. So in the news, if you've been on Threads or Facebook or whatever that other thing is that I'll go on, but you're seeing a lot of shit going on there. And now the liberals, this is why liberals always betray us, but they're cheering on what's going on. Now, depending on who you ask, either there was election fraud or this is a CIA fascist coup. What's really going on? So there's been a couple of pieces put out. I've been trying to dig around and find something going on in the current events. But before that, I'll just talk about my whole thing of why I like Venezuela. Why do I follow it so much? So back around 2008, I went on a trip to Venezuela for about 2 weeks. It was organized by the Bolivarian circles. This is when Hugo Chavez was in power. We got a tour of all the factories that were going on, the cooperative lands, how all the land. We visited peasant farmers who seized land and then they took it, ran it as a cooperative. We went to factories that were seized by workers and went to there. We saw there was a joint Iranian and Venezuelan food production company, which was showing how they use technology to bolster food. And everybody, and I mean everybody, proudly told me how they marched and stood to in the 2002 coup, how they restored President Chavez to power after a right-wing coup happened. And that was CIA's handprints all over that too. That's very much a CIA plot in it as well. I do recommend The War and Democracy by John Pilger if you want to see it. That documentary is what got me to go there because I wanted to see for myself if this was really going on. And also it was, I managed to have a pretty good office job. So and I got my first paycheck. So I'm going to Venezuela. So there you go. And there's one place I want to talk about. It was a small fishing village. It was called Schwau. I cannot spell that because I can't Google it, but you might know that if you follow current events from 4 years ago, but I want to get ahead of myself. So we went to Schwau, and it was a former slave colony back under Spanish colonial times, and they made cacao. there. We met with the people, and the people there were very, they received us, and it was like like I said, it's a government tour. So it was some of it I thought was a dog and pony show, but after we got to hang out with them, we got to know them, and they were super, super nice people. They liked my Bostonian accent on Denada a lot. They always would laugh at that, and they'd always say Denada like back. But wonderful people there in Schwau. So when we went there, they told us about what life was like before the Chavez government and his party, which is called the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, or the PSUV. And what they told us was back then they had mud roads. They lived in basically mud and thatch huts. There was no electricity, no running water. And if you wanted to see a doctor, it was about 4 hours away. You had to cut through the mountains. And I'll just say that road was scary as hell to go down to. When the Chavez government came to power, the roads were paved. They got electrified. They had concrete houses. They had sewerage and running water. And a Cuban doctor was stationed inside the village itself. Life had improved dramatically for them. A lot of them it was a fishing village, and dragnet fishing, which is environmentally devastating to that area, was replaced with just regular fishing and a lot more fishing boats and everything. And the people whose lives had been ruined by dragnet fishing, all the local ecology that had been killed off, it was starting to be restored. And, they showed us all the fish they had there, and, very nice people. And I will say you can make very nice liquor out of cacao. So there's my PS of that great story. Loved it there. Wonderful place. Flash forward to 2020. You're going to go ahead and you're going to see that there was this thing called, in the news, it was dubbed the Dumb Bay of Pigs. I don't know if you remember any of you heard about that? Yeah, Dumb Bay of Pigs.
And the Bay of Pigs was already pretty dumb.
Yeah, this one was even
it was already
dumber.
A colossal failure.
Right. So there was a former Green Beret, whoever this Jagov's name was, and he landed with about, I think, 30 to 50, it was 60 heavily armed Venezuelans who were armed by the United States. They mysteriously got all these heavy weaponry and everything, and they decided to land in this village called Schwau, the people whose lives have been radically transformed and saved. So when they saw all these people pulling up to shore one by one haphazardly, they notified the National Guard, and a lot of them, they have a National Guard, and they have like a People's Militia too. So the regular National Guard with the People's Militia soon surrounded these idiots and arrested all of them. That is because of the Chavez government, that his lasting legacy on these people, that their lives have been so improved that they would defend the revolution from invasion, which now sadly leads me to current day with Nicolas Maduro. Nicolas Maduro is not Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez was someone who gave land to the poor and to the peasantry, who supported nationalized it, gave over worker control to areas. When I said there was a Cuban doctors there, they traded in oil for a doctors program with Cuba. So I think over 12,000 Cuban doctors and nurses and technicians set up shop to help improve the healthcare of that. Nicolas Maduro, on the other hand, was someone who was, doing bureaucratic, and honestly, he was working on behalf of the term is called the bourgeoisie. These were capitalists who didn't really give up their beliefs, but they signed a deal with the ruling party to make it up, to be a part of it. But Maduro attacked collective bargaining rights, did an insane monetary thing, which caused massive hyperinflation, and imprisoned worker activists as well. This is someone who, is no Chavez. So it's not going to come to a mystery why I'm going to become very, very critical of Mr. Maduro. Now, to be fair to some of our tanky, which I know that term means nothing anymore, but to more of our Stalinist listeners, who all one or two of you might be, yes, I will give him credit when credit's due, that Maduro does support Palestine, and Hugo Chavez started the embassy in Palestine, and Maduro does support that, and he's spoken out against Israeli terrorism in that area. I'll give him credit when credit's due. He did do that right. But the election that was on Sunday, it was 10 presidential candidates. But really it was against Nicolas Maduro and Maria Machado. Was it Machado? Now there's someone else running in her stead. I'm not even bothered. You don't have to bother knowing that person's name. He's there because she got kicked off the ticket. Now, what happened was this. So every time, Hugo Chavez had built up a very large goodwill amongst those people. Like I said, the people in Schwau. between workers, the peasants, and the poor who lived in the barrios of the area. All of that support over 10 years of failure, austerity cuts, attacking left-wing parties, which I will get to. There's very little popular support for him left by this point. Machado, on the other hand, can actually organize and turn out very large groups of people to her rallies. Not so much they may not support what she's calling for, which what she's calling for, I'll get to, pretty goddamn bad, but it's because she's the only viable opposition really that everyone's looking towards. So she could turn those out pretty well, but like I said, the PSUV, which is Maduro's party, formerly Chavez, has managed to ruin all the goodwill. There's nothing left, all the austerity cuts. So in 2019, she was kind of viewed as a crazy radical lady who was actually welcoming a foreign invasion on the land. Juan Guaido, who Trump did call the Pete Putin? No, the Beto O'Rourke of fucking leaders, which is a pretty funny line. But he was not. Like I said, I don't know. I do not know where Juan Guaido is. No one does. He was really bad at the job, but she's the new one. That's going to be, like I said, the new one there. Yeah. So what she's really calling for now, she's going to bring back neoliberal strategy. You're seeing what she really is what now a lot of liberals might be cheering her on. She's the Bolsonaro of that era. She's Trump. She's Malay. She's going to bring that privatization of the oil. Collective bargaining rights are going to be thrown out the window. All the communal housing now. The Venezuelan government, I think, had 4 million brand new units of housing going to be sold off and privatized. And this is going to be done with the backing of a gun, too. This isn't going to be done peacefully. They're going to bring shock treatment to this area, and it's going to ruin the lives. Things might be bad for the Venezuelan worker and poor and the peasantry. It's going to get a lot worse once she gets in. So there's that.
Why does this person have such a huge base and huge following? Like, why would suddenly the Venezuelan working class turn towards right-wing reactionary politics?
Yeah, good point. So it's really because Maduro has his policies. They've actually, when you start attacking your own base, which he's been doing, they're looking for anybody, and she's that anybody. She says things that sound good. We're going to get things better. But, when you've given, like I said, there were worker occupations of factories. Maduro turned them back over to back to the factory owners. When all that seized land that was taken by the peasantry, he gave it back to the owners. The Communist Party of Venezuela, which is one of the rare left-wing parties of that area. Like, if you go in the world, most of the communist parties are usually pretty bad, like the French Communist Party. The CPUSA, I was going to say the American Communist Party isn't really a party. We all know that, but yeah, they're actually to the...
They're liberals that back the status quo, like Democrats, right?
Right, yeah. The CPUSA. But this one was actually to the left. And he tried to use their Supreme Court to basically put in their own quote unquote patriotic socialist. I shit you not. That's what they are. But they were going to be put into the PCV, Communist Party of Venezuela. It's called the PCV, Partido Comunista de Venezuela. So PCV for short. So when you launch all these attacks on your supporters, you've lost everybody. Like that's the whole thing. This election really dwindled down to the fact that, people were tired of it. And it looks like, from all accounts from that I've seen, and I want to say the revolution, Jorge Martin did a really good piece, and a lot of his reporting is what I'm going with. But all of that report, all the tallies, and like all the ones checked off, there was probably 15 to 20 posted, all had Machado in the lead by far. Even Hugo Chavez' stronghold in his neighborhood where he went for Machado, and it was posted. So, and I think so far there was not a single picture of like the tallies in any of the cities or towns where it showed Maduro winning in any of them. They all showed him losing by a significant margin. So when you then, I think on Monday, without even having the official tallies counted up or officially posted or, showing the regional breakdowns, the election counters were like, oh, Maduro won. I believe it was 51 to 44, I believe. And so that's why no one believes it. Like no one, like the pollsters were like, he's going to lose. It looks bad. And he lost. Maduro really used every suppressive means to do it, Maduro calls himself a socialist, but he's not. He isn't. And that's why most of these working class people, like I said, either didn't show up, or a lot of them who used to be loyal Chavistas have left to join the opposition. You can't take these people for granted. So that was it. And And obviously the economy has been, now granted, yes, have there been brutal sanctions put on Venezuela? Yes, there have. There have been really bad sanctions, secondary sanctions along with this is the legacy of Trump that Biden kept on as well. So these sanctions kept on, mass exodus of the country. I think 5 million people have left. So yeah, that's right. Now, the problem is Maduro tried to play both sides. You know, the term we like to use in Marxist speak is called a Bonapartist. That's when you try to keep certain classes in ever. The military is a group that Maduro took very good care of. They're the loyal ones to him. And that's why he's going to probably stay in power, because once you have the military on your side, and that's it. Most of the people throughout the 10 years really didn't like Maduro, but a lot of them did understand correctly that the right-wing restoration will make things a lot worse. That's it. And you can't just keep relying on, well, the other guy's going to be worse. That doesn't inspire people. Like, you know, that's like saying, well, if someone said, well, vote Democrat, they're not as bad. Like in America, we have why do working class people
imagine if that happened.
Right, I know. So I know it's a stretch to be like, you know, like I work at the post office, yet I have postal workers who support Trump, who wants to privatize the post office, eliminate our unions, eliminate our collective bargaining rights. But, you know, they like Trump because he seems strong, you know. That's it. You know, people will vote against their own economic interests. So that's it. But, you know, I've checked Al Jazeera as well, you know, and, you know, the nominal allies of, you know, Venezuela, which would be like Lula in Brazil, the new left-wing government in Colombia and Chile, they all were kind of like, hey, dude, maybe just relax and maybe you could show the results so we could, like, they're even saying show the results. But unfortunately, they said, well, we got hacked, so we can't show the results. But trust us, we won, you know? Not great. No, not great. So there's that.
Are you saying? Yeah. Are you saying, because like our friends of the American Communist Party flew down to witness, a bunch of them from Midwestern Marx flew down to Venezuela to watch the election, and they all testified like, oh, everything was perfect, everything was open, and the election went well, and congratulations to Maduro, and that's it, case closed. Yeah, they're on Twitter now, just be like, yep, okay, all wrapped up here.
They said that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, should we delete this podcast now? Like, all right. I didn't know the people at Midwestern Mark said that. Well, all right, everyone. I'm sorry. We're going home. This is the show, folks. I'm going to believe these people. Like, come on. Like, I've been, like I said, I went to Venezuela. I support, you know, Chavez. Maduro, you can, like, if it's kind of like, you know, you have to say something. If you have a friend who's like an alcoholic and he's drunk and he wants to drive the car, you have to tell him, no, sorry, dude, I'm taking your keys. You can't drive. Maduro, you're not good. You need to go with, like, I will defend Maduro from counter-revolution, just like Lenin and Trotsky protected Kerensky from counter-revolution from Kornilov. I will do that. But dude, you need to step aside. All right. You lost. And like I said, the Communist Party of Venezuela. Now, the thing about the PCV, the Communist Party of Venezuela, they actually endorsed this kind of lousy guy who was like, oh, I support democracy. And they didn't pick a radical at all. They just picked someone middle of the road. So even the PCV really didn't mess up. Now, normally I give them a lot of credit. They didn't do well in this election. And their candidate didn't even do well at all. But, you know, the IMT, what's their section? The RCI section. They didn't even bother endorsing anybody. I think they said they have no dog in this fight. They're really, and that was probably the smart move. There was no one good in this election to support.
Well, no, specifically they said the working class has no dog in this fight.
Oh, okay, even right.
Which is, I think, is a good way to put it. Yeah,
yeah.
There are no winners. There are no winners in this election because history has shown over and over again that bourgeois elections cannot usher in socialism. You cannot half-ass a revolution, right? And that's what we saw. That's like the 2002 coup. It was like a play-by-play of the 78, 79 coup in Chile. Against Allende. And because you can't do half measures when you're overthrowing capitalism. You have to go all the way. And that is why we subscribe to theories like the permanent revolution. For those of you who haven't read it, please check it out. It is a phenomenal theory, whether you subscribe to Trotsky's politics or not. I think permanent revolution is a very, very worthwhile contribution to Marxist thought.
Yep. Also, a great book I want to plug too that I think I know Aaron and I have read, Permanent Revolution in Latin America. Look at that. Yes, this book. If you want a good history, what's been now, this covers the Nicaraguan, Venezuelan, and Cuban Revolution. Cuba completed its revolution. Venezuela did not. They tried to make deals with capitalists. Maduro. So after the 2002 coup, you saw Chavez move very much to the left. That's when you saw a lot, because when he was elected, he was kind of like a moderate, really, in 1999. But after the coup, he went left. And also, thanks to the high price of oil at the time and Citgo, which was their nationalized oil, they were able to fund massive programs. That's what I did see. But after 2002 coup, he should have come down with an iron fist and all the coup plotters. Because if you don't stop coup plotters, look what we're doing within America right now. These people feel emboldened. They got away with it. They got a slap on the wrist, and they're going to come back. They're like the Terminator. Like they're never going to stop trying to crawl back to kill you.
Yeah.
And here we are, because of the failures of Maduro and the PSUV and all the half-assed measures. Then they attack the left. And then you see clowns like Benjamin Norton, who's a Stalinist reporter who does do good. I like his reporting on other stuff, but he was very much critical of the APR, which was a coalition between this RCI section and the Communist Party of Venezuela section. He was saying that these people were Trotskyist wreckers and we don't support them. Well, look who's right now. They attack the left too, and this is where we are. And now the protests are pretty much growing. I don't see them stopping. I don't know how this is going to go, but maybe those elections turn out and Maduro will be like, okay, that's it. But I really don't see Maduro stepping down, and he's got another 6 years to preside over this. So I don't know. But I'm talking. What do you guys think? I've talked a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know that much about Venezuela, but it sounds like the same problems that happen in a lot of these, socialist revolutionary governments, that this concept of like the incomplete revolution, where like you said, Castro finished the revolution, and we can go like, well, this Cuba's in bad shape because of the embargo, and it's like, well, not entirely, like, okay, whatever. But like, is that what dooms so many of these places, in addition to like, the US meddling in it? But is it this like incomplete revolution problem?
That's a very good. Yeah. So that's a great point. I'm going to go back to my favoritist of Frederick Engels, of course. I think one of the was it the ABCs of socialism, or is that, I think, but it was when there was one simple question. He goes, I think it was, can socialism exist in one country? And the one word answer was no. That was it. And then Stalin, and then ironically, Stalin was asked at one point, can socialism exist in one country? And like early on, he was like, no, socialism cannot exist in one country. You have to have all nations go into it to engage in trade and commerce, and it has to keep expanding everywhere. I mean, that's what permanent revolution is. The revolution must go everywhere. America could not exist as half slavery and half capitalist. It couldn't exist, and they were going to clash.
I will say, like, you can have revolutions in one country,
right? Absolutely,
but you cannot have a sustained socialist state,
right? Right.
Not without building a formidable opponent to especially American imperialism and American capitalism.
Right. Exactly. Like, and you can have. Oh, sorry. Go on. I'll shut up.
And that is our task as Marxists in the West, is to overthrow the. We are in the belly of the beast, as I think Che Guevara put it. He said he's jealous of his American comrades, that we get to overthrow the biggest the biggest beast of them all.
Damn right.
And one of the core principles of permanent revolution is that a revolution cannot be sustained without the contribution of, originally at the time, it was like without the contribution of technology from like more advanced nations, right? Like they knew damn well the Russian Revolution would not last without the technology of Germany, because it'll take a long time to industrialize and electrify and all that stuff. But now we know also, because your national bourgeoisie is in league with international imperialism, will do everything they can to overthrow your democratically elected leadership. Your national bourgeoisie cannot be trusted. They cannot carry out those democratic reforms. And so you have no choice but to pull a socialist revolution on an international basis. And so like you either and I think like the American ruling class knows this as well, and that's why they will sanction not just Cuba but anyone that deals with Cuba, right?
Secondary sanctions. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's insane because they know how much of a threat this is, and they know how dangerous these ideas are to their power.
I remember reading about Castro warning Allende in Chile that like, no, dude, like you gotta you gotta be willing to like defend the gains and defend your position. And he was just too soft. It was like, and his followers were out for him. Like they were like out in the streets. They were like, we are ready to defend.
600,000 people showed up right before the coup. 600 workers and farmers. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. And he did the like, hey, we're better than that. We're not going to whatever. And
we're going to take the high round. No, they will respect our votes. Please put those. Fellas, relax. I talked to Pinochet himself. And he assured me everything's on the up and up, that if we win the election, they're just going to fold up shop and go home.
Right. And it's like whatever you can say about the Castro regime and Cuba and like, the way it was apparently, kind of authoritarian and whatever, they managed to hold on to a lot of these gains. And I think, even so, like there are some ways in which I think they didn't finish their revolution, but at the same time, it's like, well, they have higher home ownership than the U.S. They have life expectancy still going up, has now surpassed the U.S. Their medical care is some of the best in the world, and it's wild. You see over and over the same thing happen to these people who like had really great starts, but didn't go full Castro. And sometimes you got to go full Castro.
Right. And that's the story of Venezuela. Because the PSUV decided to make deals. In Cuba, when they began nationalizing industry, eventually they reached a point where like, okay, either we're going to have to nationalize American property, French industry, either we're going to have to do this because we can't, like I said, America could not exist as slavery and capitalism. Those two things, for some time it can kind of work, but eventually these two systems are going to butt heads. And Castro realized that. And it's like, well, either we go all the way because all of the farmland belongs to the people. All of it. It's not like we're going, well, we're going to have no slavery here, but slavery here, and we're going to have fights in Kansas and we're going to massacre. They knew eventually one system has to go, and you go all the way. You didn't, after the Civil War, Reconstruction was ruined because they let that, Andrew Johnson gave him, the former Southerner, and like let the South restore all the former Confederate people back into office, and that's why segregation became a thing. You have to go all the way. And with Venezuela, they decided, when Chavez was the radical phase, and they're doing the worker occupations and they're turning the factories, they were producing far more. Things were getting better. The gas plants, there was a lockout by the oil owners, and then a few of the oil capitalists broke their lockout and went back to business. Instead of nationalizing it, Chavez and them were like, hey, why don't you join the government? You seem kind of nice. And then we started letting more people in who were not revolutionaries. You let people who were liberals into the party, and liberals don't have the same determination. And they're like, okay, I saw that the workers occupied my factory. That's nice, but can I have it back now? I promise I'll be nicer if you just give it. And that's what they were doing. Okay, look, this guy's cool. Maybe we'll give some of it back. And this guy, he joined the PSUV, and you know what? The workers were, you can't have it. Well, he was a former slave owner. Some of you want to go back to slavery, but others of you don't have to be. This doesn't work, and when you don't run the economy, and the capitalists own it, they're going to mess with it. That's in Chile, that example you brought up, the same, they were doing hoarding, they were doing shortages, they were purposely trying to ruin the economy. That's what ends up happening. And these shortages start happening and all these bad things start happening because you didn't go all the way. Cuba, it's a miracle that a tiny island resource poor country has held on for this long. It's a miracle. what they pulled off there. But eventually it can't keep going because USSR was their main trading partner, which gave them, all the extra resources, and that's gone. I mean, that's the thing. You can't be isolated for too long. And like I said, the secondary sanctions, you need trade. Any company, communist, capitalist, feudalism, whatever society, you need to engage in trade. Without trade, any economy, imagine America if we couldn't trade with anybody, how that would devastate. I mean, we saw during COVID and the supply chain, how that temporarily for like a year, it slowed everything down, how it fucked up our economy. And we have rampant inflation because of it. 60 years in Cuba and they're still managing, it's just because that's the whole thing. But if you go halfway, and it was at St. Just in 1792, who's going to be guillotined soon after, he said, those who commit to half a revolution dig their own grave. The masses are going to be paying for this, unfortunately. And like I said, with the election in Venezuela, it just looks bad. Maduro does look like he lost. Now, I can't say definitively because the votes aren't out. I know they got hacked, but, show the results. Prove us wrong, Maduro, but not good. Not great. This is, oh my God. But, and Machado, and a little bit about Machado too. I didn't really get enough about her. She will bring on, it's called shock therapy. She's, like I said, Bolsonaro. She is a huge Zionist, by the way. She's gone Israeli television. She wants to bring back the embassy, close the one in Palestine, open one up in Jerusalem. She, like I said, mega Zionist. She actually called for, for Israel to invade Venezuela. She's been calling for these countries to invade her own country. Yeah. Yeah, you can see video of her saying we want countries to invade us. I gotta say, I didn't know that would win you votes, but things are getting weird.
I think some of our guys are not too far off from saying shit like that.
Yeah, good kind of shit. It's fucked up. But and most of these protesters are coming really from the barrios. These were traditional PSUV strongholds. These are where Chavez had a lot of influence and everything. They've turned, I know all the tankies are going to say, oh, it's a CIA plot. How are they turning out all these people in the poorest of areas to come out? It can't be, I'm sure the CIA is helping. That's a given. Of course they are, but they can't turn out this many people,
This might have been a while ago, but I saw the clip again today of Chris Murphy just openly admitting that we attempted a coup in 2019 in Venezuela. He's just like, yeah, we tried it. Didn't work out too well. And it's like, how do you say this shit? I hate him so much, by the way. My first election ever, 2008, I fucking voted for that piece of shit. Regretted it every day since.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I voted for John Kerry. We've all done things, we all had a liberal phase, I'm sure, or something, or we were into new wave music, something, we all do something. I have no problem liking new wave. Okay. I'm older now. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a pop punk. I love pop punk. Yeah. I had to pretend I didn't like it back then, but no. We're going to see what's going to unfold here. But
it's so bizarre because bourgeois mainstream media is reporting that Maduro probably lost, but they're not posting any details of the results of the election.
Right. Yeah.
But and that's part of the reason why there's lots of protests, lots of leftists on Twitter. It's not just Jackson Hinkle who photoshopped himself standing next to Maduro for some reason.
Oh God.
Who says that Maduro won?
Show?
Lots and lots of leftists on Twitter are saying that Maduro won, and because it's in the U.S. interests that he loses,
right?
Therefore, he must have won, and
right. Right.
There's a frustrating lack of critical thinking. I'm just is it too much to say we don't know for certain right now? Is that too much to ask? Or
right.
No, it's true. I mean, I think everyone kind of misfires sometimes, and especially the left is very defensive in the U.S. because we're just this little enclave
we're used to it. Yeah.
I found myself getting caught up in some of that today, and then I was like,
same.
I read that article and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I don't know what's happening. I should
Our knee-jerk reaction is always you're full of shit, because they say it, but this is the time when I think the phrase I've heard, and I think Doug is the one, but anti-Americanism is the socialism of fools. Just because America says something, it's bad. I think PSL / Workers' World Party back in the early 90s or back during the Iraq War, They said like Saddam Hussein was and Slobodan Milosevic were anti-imperialist because they opposed America. No, like that's just because you're against it. Like, yeah, I think American imperialism is bad, but doesn't make the other side good.
Yeah, even if you can say it's like, okay, Saddam Hussein like did some privatization or not privatization,
nationalization. Yeah.
Nationalization. That was good.
Yeah.
And he
built hospitals and stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like, okay. Yeah. I mean, that can be good. And you can also not be like a Husseinist.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Like Hitler built the highways. Good. I like highways. I don't necessarily put those two together as something you support, but that's the whole, like, but it really, it takes, if you're really a leftist and you really are considered to be a socialist or a communist or a Marxist or a Bolshevik, you got to look at reality. Maduro isn't the leader of the working class. He gave that up a long time ago. Hugo Chavez made some mistakes. I'll be the first to point that out too. But Chavez was someone who genuinely held popular support, did do good things for the working class and the poor. And like, I was there to see it with my own eyes. The barrios, which were shanty towns, were being converted into brick, into like concrete houses. And they used nationalized concrete, nationalized steel, Alcoa, all and those were worker control factories until, the right wing of the PSUV and one person named, let me check my notes. Oh, Nicolas Maduro was instrumental in returning it back to the factories. Maduro has always been on the right wing of this party, like since the beginning. And, in 2011, it looked like he was going to be the successor of Chavez, but, and then Chavez kind of did a right turn as he got sick and everything. It wasn't good, and Chavez then, I have to choose my words, but he was turning over members of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, who I just want to say for the fact is considered to be a state sponsor of American terrorism. I'm neither endorsing nor condemning that move. I'm just pointing out a fact. Just want to say that American FBI. I'm just pointing out he did do that. There's my okay. But
oh my God.
This is I don't know. You can't, and like I said, and then Maduro switches, he attacks the left. He goes up the indigenous Tupamara movement, the PCV, the Trotsky sections, and, not good. This is it. He just played everyone off each other, and now he's here. And it looks like election fraud. And I think you guys pointed out, no numbers have been posted. We can't say definitively, but, I think when people are seeing all those tally sheets posted on social media, and then, a day later, like, oh, Maduro won, but we're not going to post any information, people wouldn't believe it. If I was, if this was America, I wouldn't believe it, but.
Yeah. I mean, like they're showing, I'm seeing adding up the percentages of the candidates and the vote results that have been released to the media. The percentage adds up to 109%. So something's off.
What do you mean? I'm with the American Communist Party now. What do you mean? Yeah, they're just numbers. Numbers aren't people. 109%. Holy shit.
It's like, I don't know, man. It's like Pete Buttigieg in Iowa in 2020. It's like if you just declare yourself the winner, then no one's really going to dispute it as long as the right people in charge also agree with you.
And one thing I'd like to point out too is the utter hypocrisy from right wingers, and those are liberals too. But to quote Elon Musk, who has a fucking opinion on everything, he said that he thinks the military should turn and take out Maduro. Okay, that's your opinion there. But then after the Bolivarian, he said, quote, "We'll coup who we want to coup."
Yeah.
Right wingers don't have a problem with military coups, whether it be in Bolivia, the coup that happened in Peru against the left-wing government, trying to do a really stupid coup in Venezuela in 2020, or trying to do January 6th, which was it was so stupid, I almost considered it just to be a riot because it was so poorly executed. These people don't give a shit about democracy, but when all of a sudden it does suit them, and it's just pathetic. And now it's just, I really think Maduro is making actual Marxists and socialists look bad because of this. Yeah. I don't see this as a plus. No, Maduro is not the leader we need. He needs to step aside and let a real actual leader of the working class and the farmers to take over, because it's not Maduro, dude. Yep. No.
And 100%, I want to reiterate, U.S. imperialism, hands off Venezuela.
Yes, right. This is the internal affairs of the Venezuelans. Of course, they should be able to work this out themselves. But at the same point, too, this election really, it's not good. I don't know even what to say anymore. It's just Oh my God.
This book had a really good point where a lot of reformists there are people who genuinely want socialism, but they see the shambles that their country is in, and they say, well, we have to fix the economy first before we can implement socialist policies. And this book argues that you're actually putting the cart before the horse, that it is socialist policies is what's going to fix your economy. That really stood out to me.
Yeah. And like I said, work, and also the government. Also, you cannot. I think Aaron might said too. You can't elect genuine socialism by ballot box. The government. I think Lenin talked about this in State and Revolution. Smash the capitalist state and reform a new one. And the communes were a very good attempt at that. Like I said, I went to saw some of these communes. Things were controlled by the people at the very bottom. And when the people were very much involved, they could vote out all the government bureaucrats and put actual workers on these councils. Production went up greatly. You saw workers were a lot happier. The pride that these workers felt, that they were like, I work and I own this factory. We all get paid the same wage, but if we want to work more, we don't do money. We give more vacation time to people. So we do, vacation time was your bonus. So it's like, all right, you get if you agree to do this, you get a week off, that's it. Every decision was planned democratically. They talked about how, like, this clothing factory, how they did, they bought the materials in Italy. It got shipped there. They decided how it was going to be made, where it was going to be made, what the prices were. It was great. It really worked on those things.
Almost sounds like socialism.
It kind of does. And of course, now we're not anarchists in the sense where everyone does their own thing. It was production planned with the state, and they did plan production according to state needs. A lot of them were building like uniforms for kids to go to school, shoes for these people. And there was another place that farmers needed shoes, so they would make deals with shoes. They get food back in return. It was this really great system. And they were like, they would say running a business is hard. It's like, it's not really that hard. We all do it together. And everything's always like, it was great.
Especially if it's a socialist enterprise that is run along with the state to produce things and
coordinate. Absolutely.
For ever growing profit. So you have to like cut around the edges and fire people and fucking do that. You're like,
right.
That's what I think we should emphasize too, is like what it sounds like, because I don't know this history that well, but like it worked. Like, this is not what ruined Venezuela. It was the fucking backlash.
Right. The bully bourgeoisie. That, like I said, and you don't let them in your party. Lenin wasn't like, hey, Kerensky, back in the government. We changed our mind. Sure, we'll go back. We'll rejoin World War I just because. It sounds like we have to fight for the honor of Russia, whatever. Like, no, my God.
I want to read a passage from it's semi-relevant as part of like where these ideas lead in terms of like voting for the lesser of two evils instead of developing a really radical program. This is a quote from a book called Zionism During the Holocaust by Tony Greenstein. On the 10th of May, a massive demonstration was held in New York, beginning in Madison Square Gardens. Over 100,000 Jews and trade unionists took part. The Roosevelt administration argued that Hitler represented the element of moderation in the Nazi Party and that a boycott campaign would undermine his position.
Did it work? I didn't read the book.
How'd that go?
I don't know. I don't know. I never heard of this. I'm new.
No spoilers. Hitler is the moderate element of the Nazi Party, so we have to support him.
Who was the extreme of the? Hold on. I missed it. Wait.
I hope someone clips me out of context and posts that. That'd be hilarious.
On the Left Opposition podcast, Aaron admits Hitler wasn't that bad.
Hardcore Trotsky.
Holy. Yeah. Oh my God, that traveling clown show. But I mean, it's what I don't like about like the American, the patsies, everything is just a CIA plot. It's just lazy. They don't need a deeper understanding of anything. Like Benjamin Norton, who otherwise, like I said, does good journalism in Latin America, but his views on how he hates Trotskyism with a passion. All of us, all Trotskyists are neoliberals. Neoliberals control, he thinks of us as that because of Max Chapman, who left Trotskyism in 1958. But, but he's just lazy over it's like, well, it's a CIA plot. Nothing, everything would have been running perfectly, but no, we take the time, like we read books and stuff. We read articles. We have to develop a deeper understanding, and have to say it away. In this article, which, like I said, the Revolutionary Communists of America, or the Revolution Communist International, has been a very good source for this information. I found their articles very helpful to understand it very well. And, like I said, they have people in Venezuela. They have a party there, La Lucha de Clases, that do tell you their perspective of what's going on. Don't go to NBC, for God's sakes. Al Jazeera, I've been going, Al Jazeera's been pretty good. I do like going to Al Jazeera if you want to get some actual reporting down there with a news broadcaster, but go to them. But, NBC and all the bourgeois press, and I'm sure Fox News is having a field day with this shit, but, it's just... It's like I said, I'd love to tell you it's a CIA plot. Everything's fake. Yep. Maduro's a great leader.
Right. But, it's clearly like, it doesn't require a CIA plot for us to say that, like, no, like socialism wasn't the problem here.
Right.
And yeah, it does come back to like the global capitalist order. And that's not to say, again, this seems like maybe not a CIA coup. So like, it's not to say that US like deployed people to go and fucking screw up this election.
Right.
No, but it's like,
it.
right. But like you were saying, because you can't really have socialism in one country, it comes down to these trade relations and production relations that span national borders. And yeah, you can't reconcile the capitalist order of the US with like an attempted socialist order of Venezuela. And that's the problem. And that's something that like the Permanent Revolution book, I gotta finish that. I started that years ago. But
I know. It's good. Oh yeah.
But like the idea of permanent revolution is I think it's very necessary, and I think it's very Marxian. And I don't know if I consider myself a Trotskyist. I like most stuff I've read by Trotsky. I'm not a Stalinist. But like the way that there's like such a divide to it, I'm like, guy, I don't know how much sense that makes, because if to the extent that it's like a socialism in one country versus permanent revolution, I'm like, well, you got to have revolutions in countries because countries exist,
of course,
and then you got to have permanent revolution. So like, where's the divide? Why are we so at odds?
I know, and that's a great question, because that does come up. Can't you just have it there? And it sounds like it should work. Now, within the country itself, because Trotsky had this. So after the USSR, when they formed, you had uprisings in Hungary, you had uprisings. Ireland had Soviets, Ireland, Hungary, Germany. My God, if Germany, we can play what if all day. If the German Spartacus Revolution with Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht worked, but it didn't. So the Soviet Union found itself isolated. What do we do? Right? And that's a good point. Joe, that's a good point. Like, well, now what? Do we just go, okay, we turn the keys back over to the liberals and say, we tried? But you're right. So what you do is, you start building infrastructure things. They electrify the country. Literacy was 9% when they came to power. Within 15 years, or I believe literacy is at 91%. Electrification of the country, building roads, resources, canals, dams, you do that because you do have to improve the means, like I said. So we have, it creates jobs, it creates modernization, which is needed. But the problem Russia found itself is that it did not have skilled workers, which is needed. If you have expensive equipment, you need to know how to run it. Trotsky and Revolution Betrayed, I think Trotsky does a very good job of going over the problems, because on paper, things look pretty good. But, and the thing is, you can't have bureaucrats. Worker control is essential to it, because bureaucrats don't necessarily work at the factories. They may not be too motivated to make things work, whereas the workers and the farmers who work the land can run the land. And that was the other thing, too. So you do want to, like I said, trade is essential to happen. The Soviet Union was blockaded. So, but their planned economy, even though they were being blockaded, even though Cuba's being blockaded, especially in the Soviet Union, during the Great Depression, every country, capitalist country's economy, GDP dropped almost, the USSR went upward during the Great Depression. It could manage that because it was a democratically planned economy, not a bureaucratically. And Venezuela tried to do a little bit of both. And that mixed economies, the capitalists don't give a shit about improving the lives of the working class. Profit is the only thing they ever care about. Socialists care about the working class. like this is like slavery versus capitalism in America. You can't have it. People are private property under slavery. These relations aren't going to work. But when you have a truly like what Cuba did, they went all the way that there were no more private enterprises anymore. There were no all the large factories, the cane sugars, the tobacco things. That's it. Now, not to say you could have some very small work, mom and pop stores. Those are not to be collectivized so much. If you're a very small shop, if you're a barber and you employ yourself, we don't have to nationalize and have 3 bosses running it. That's you're your own self. That's fine.
Yeah. That's I read something about that it was like until recently that you actually couldn't have like a privately run salon or something.
Yeah.
And there was like an underground like network of salons in Cuba. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, there's a little like overcorrection there. And then they eased up on that once it was like, okay, you can have a salon.
right. Small, like I said, that was the thing. The bureau now, Cuba does have a bureaucracy. It does. That was and it wasn't, like I said, we're not saying it was perfect, everything, but over 60 years, things will not always stay the same because like I said, after 1991, the Soviet Union, there was a special period thing. Imagine if like most of our shit's made in China, what if China just completely shut us off from trade? That would devastate us. Just like Cuba, when the USSR shut down, that devastated their economy. That did happen. Yeah. So that does happen. But, they did rebound. It took some time. And, like I said, they still have worker assemblies. There's communal assemblies. There's still very democratic institutions within Cuba, despite all the hardship. So it is still going on. But if Venezuela does go, and say whatever Machado takes over, a lot of that oil that was keeping their economy running is going to probably dry up, and they're going to cut them off too, at the request of the IMF, the World Bank, because was it TINA, TINA? There is no alternative. There cannot be an alternative to capitalism. We have to destroy it. Always. So it's in their interest.
Thing as society.
Yeah. Yes. Bingo. Right. So, oh my God. But yeah, no, that's a good point. No, that does come up a lot. Like, well, like I said, when USSR is alone, you do have to do it. You're alone, but that's why you want to foster revolutions everywhere and spread the revolution.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Have you been following Israel at all lately? Any of you? It's been in the news. I don't know. Honestly, it's hard to keep track of what atrocity they've been engaging in lately, but apparently
looks like those Zionist clowns did it again. What a bunch of clowns.
So Israel did something unprecedented. They arrested a few soldiers for doing really bad stuff. Mm-hmm. Trigger warning for sexual assault coming up here, but it was alleged that if you know anything more about this, but 3 soldiers had raped a couple of girls in a village they were occupying, and they arrested them. There was a riot today of a bunch of radicalized Zionists at the camp trying to release them. And they were in this video of this chanting, "Kill all Arabs" was the chant they were leading. Yeah. These are our allies. These are the good guys, right? Yeah. This is where my taxpayer dollars are going towards. These people to chant that.
It's the only democracy in the Middle East.
Yeah. And the only reason they did, what is it, like 9 guys that they arrested? The only reason is because the ICC, I guess it is. Yeah. Has like, the warrant out, or like is about to have the warrant out for Netanyahu. And basically there's some provision that it sounds like this mechanism was added early on because, the UN is basically the US, and this would benefit us. That if you have like democratic judicial institutions in your country to handle like war crimes issues like this, then the ICC will like pull back its action and won't like come and take action itself. So basically by arresting a few of these guys, they can say, look, see, we're handling it.
Yeah.
and like, so don't worry about it, ICC. We got it.
All right. Out of the 43,000 war crimes. All right, fine. Yeah. We're doing something.
And those soldiers are like, me? Really? Me. Me.
Right. Jesus.
Like,
oh my God.
It's because
I'm the one?
Yeah.
Have you seen what that guy's done?
Yeah. Have you been on TikTok?
How many
shit.
How many Israeli
he dropped napalm on a family on TikTok.
how many
I mean, come on.
how many Israeli families? Sorry, how many Israeli athletes are like IDF veterans
Oh my God.
who are currently competing right now?
Just gonna get
It is-
arrested on the soccer field.
Oh my God. Also, I just want to give a quick update too. This is from last week on our show. If Kamala Harris, the vice president, if you were watching the stream right now, which there's a chance you might be, we gave you an ultimatum, a possible endorsement of the Left Opposition podcast to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. Now I'm looking at I have my clock right here, and TikTok, it's over. So it officially, as of now, at 8:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are withdrawing our potential endorsement of you, and the Left Opposition podcast will now be in opposition of you. You had one chance to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu to charge him with crimes against humanity and genocide, and you failed to do it. I'm really disappointed. I thought you being the top cop would make you all badass. You know, like I said, you could go, sure, you could have SEAL Team 6 come down from the rafters and, put a bag over his head, throw a flashbang at him and knock him out. Or you could just put him on yourself. We did ask that. We were flexible on how you would arrest him, of course, even a private way to arrest him, but you didn't do it. So officially it is over.
Hate to see it.
There we are, I thought cops arrested bad people. Isn't that what they do? Right. I don't know. If you get charged with a crime by the ICC, I thought aren't we law and order, right? Top cop, maybe something there. I don't know. I guess it's all performative, I guess, but
hey man, she does take security seriously. So she's actually at a rally tonight where she promised to sign Trump's border law, border bill into law.
Oh yeah, I saw that ad about the fucking border shit. It's insane, dude.
Has she thought of maybe ending sanctions on countries, which causes all this? Like, it's kind of like if I got hangovers every morning and I'm like, I don't know what I can do about these hangovers, and if someone said, well, why don't you stop drinking excessively? I'd be like, shut up, you commie.
The left excitement for Kamala is so genuinely embarrassing.
I get I get the ironic sort of like coconut pilled, like, yeah, this is fun for a minute, but like,
right. And Genocide Joe is going away. Good.
Yeah. If he hasn't already, R.I.P.
he might have left.
Where is he? No, here's Kamala's plan for immigration. Do not come.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come.
Yeah. I think if you maybe stopped overthrowing democratically elected left-wing governments throughout the world and bombing them into submission or, using covert ways to destroy the economy, I'm almost certain massive migration will stop because it's, leaving your home and traveling thousands of miles is you must be put in a pretty bad spot to do that. And that is because of American and EU. Not saying it's all America. EU, you have a play in this too, but this is what happens.
The vast majority of folks who make it to the border, they already have family on the other side of the border. You can just connect it with them. Like you've got mothers hurdling babies over the fence.
Yeah.
Just to give them a shot because anything is better than where they came from, which is completely fucked up. Like if you look up the Biden plan, like under the Obama administration and what they did to Honduras is like unforgivable. Like when it comes to foreign policy, like these parties are like there's no different. It's just the CIA that just fucking controls it.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially Latin America.
Right. And it's insane. I mean, like it's so crazy that like, I don't know, in 6 hours I could like be at your house, Aaron. Like no one fucking care that I'm crossing the American Canadian border. Like
you're welcome to anytime.
We might actually. My wife's family had to cancel our trip to Germany later this year, so we were like, well, we renewed our passports, so we got to go somewhere.
I like your country. Canada's a great place. I just will say that. Until I learned about what you did to Native Americans. And that's pretty, like, I'm like, Canada's a wonderful place. And then I'm like, whoa. And I only learned about this like 6 or 7 years ago. Like, I thought like, yeah, things are cool there, you know?
Well, yeah, that's the pot calling the kettle black there.
Yeah, I mean,
we thought you were better than us.
I thought you were better. Yeah, you're supposed to be the better version of us with less genocide and shit. But wow, I got that one wrong. I mean, y'all didn't have slavery, so I think that's +1.
Yeah, we did. That's a very common misunderstanding.
Aaron, I'm trying to like your country. Okay, please stop. Please.
Next, you're going to tell me you don't actually say A.
Oh no, that's true. That we absolutely say that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you have that Tim Hortons place. I mean, that's a -1, but you know, I don't know why you don't like Dunkin'.
All right, let's. all
right, we're gonna. All right, because
I want to stay friends here.
Okay, all right.
Should be coming out my Tim Hortons.
Coffee's too damn strong anyway. All right, that's fine. Holy shit! You're blind drinking that shit.
You're weak.
That's it's perfect. All right, we like it that way. A little cream and sugar. That's all we need. All right, but yeah. Israel is still a terrorist state. And also
Israel keeps hitting them fucking home runs.
Yeah. I wonder if this is going to, and now they bombed Lebanon. So I wonder, now here's the thing. Hezbollah is kind of an actual pretty like modernized military force because Israel has been fighting Palestine, which has no military, has no army, has no Marines, has no Air Force, has no Navy. There's no regular army at all. And Israel's having a tough go of it fighting people who are mostly civilians and militia people. Hezbollah is actually armed, battle trained from fighting ISIS in many areas, and have very, very good state-of-the-art weaponry. I think Israel's picking a fight that they can't win unless the United States will intervene. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking they're hoping right now, is that the United States intervenes, because our Navy is already, our tax dollars already going off to intervene and stop, drones and missiles. So we've already gone into it, but
great, because we've got everything else covered. So
we do,
let's go fuck around.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that bridges are collapsing. The MBTA is on fire again. That's what MBTA is, our local train system here. We don't have bullet trains. Wait, some bright news. Elon Musk was his company, Twitter. I don't call it by its stupid name, but they're down 83% in revenue right now. Like, it's just
hilarious.
You guys, now you're all on Twitter. How is I left Twitter a long time ago. What is Twitter as bad as they say it is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like outright, whatever the worst you can think of from like 4chan and shit, really minstrel show-ish, racist memes and just openly saying slurs, and like it's really, really wild.
Holy shit. Okay. Yeah. So the free speech absolutists who will ban any left group or anyone else, wow.
You can't say cis.
Yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Yeah,
that's not okay, Mr. Free Speech Absolutist. But any racist, like Andrew Tate openly using racist, the N-word and stuff. But wow, yeah, I've been on Threads lately. Threads have been, I'll be honest, Threads has picked up because everyone's leaving Twitter to go here. I will say I've been enjoying Threads. It's getting pretty good. It's quite liberal. An element of Zionists are there too, but
I feel like I feel like that's what made Twitter fun, just as much for conservatives as for us, which is that you can fuck with liberals.
It's been I know. Oh God. Yeah, I know. Yeah. The liberal Zionists who like, oh God. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. You know what I will say about Twitter? The one thing I appreciate is that you can just like absolutely cuss people out if you see like the dumbest asshole. You're just like, hey, you're a stupid fucking piece of shit, go fuck yourself. like you can't do that on Facebook no more. Like they're
like, are you sure you want to post this? Yes, the fuck I do. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. God, I did get zucked though. I mean, I got report because someone had a picture of I went on the state with this guy and he has the SS thing. It was only one S, and people were trying to figure out, what was going on. And I'm like, well, it's a Hitler Youth. The Hitler Youth had one S. And I'm like, and someone's like, what are you talking about? So I took a picture of the Hitler, like just a bunch of kids and showing the 1S. And then I get flagged. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to show historically where it came from. And it was like, I get it. Now, look, I'd rather have that be a problem than like the cesspool that Twitter is now with, if it's as bad as you say it is, like, but like relax, dude. It's a historical photo. They were Hitler Youth. That's, I'm not glorifying kids who were in the Hitler Youth like the former Pope, but
right. It's like, well, I mean, and that's just like, that gets into how, what a like paper tiger the fucking AI industry is, because I assume that's what runs these algorithms that go like, Nazi picture. And it's like, well, it can't look and like see the context and be like, oh, it's just talking about like it's right, so stupid.
Right. Not like this is the future I want for Alabama, like, no, that's different. Like, no, that's bad. But like, if you said like, this is where the symbol comes from, here's the historical context I'm trying to show you. So yeah, I know. Yeah. That happened before when someone was talking about, we need to outlaw unions and stuff. And I said, somebody else made that quote about outlawing unions. And I used the Hitler quote, like we have to shut, and then I get shut down for 30 days on that on Facebook. And I'm like, dude, and then I try to appeal it and it's like, we'll let it, an error has occurred. Like I need to report an error. I kept saying an error. It kept doing the endless loop. I'm like, I'm not glorifying this shit. I'm just pointing. No, I know. There's no humans in charge of this shit too, but holy God, I know. Dumb, but thanks a lot, Mr. Zuckerberg, for that. But at least, like I said, Threads it's nice to go on social media and not be in, like every time I went on Twitter, when I was after Elmo bought it, it was like Kyle Rittenhouse for some reason, it kept getting Kyle Rittenhouse over and over every time and I'm like, and I get like, I took the bait every time, and I always have to write, you're a murderer every time I'd see that thing on there, just, to point out facts. You're a murderer. And then like you get some chud defending him. And I got tired of that crap after a while. So Threads has been nice. It's a good place. Facebook is, that's for like friends and family and stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm going out to dinner or with the dog or something, I'll put it on there. But Twitter's, like I said, Threads is all right.
Shout out to everyone on Twitch.
Hey, Twitch. How are we? Oh, wow.
Twitch.tv/Marxist archaeologist. Come check me out.
We got 12.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. We did great with it.
It's one of my better nights.
I'm making an effort to start up my stream again. I was doing Socialist Sundays. Started that again this past weekend. Should be on again this Sunday, usually like 2 p.m. or so.
All right.
Looking forward to it. What's your handle on Twitch?
Put in the chat.
It's Radicalize Me. Twitch.tv/radicalize me.
I'm building up my MySpace page. I'll let you all know as soon as that's up.
Oh my God. Friendster.
The Blue Sky didn't work out.
Find us on Friendster.
Yeah. Oh my God. You have a Friendster account. Okay. If you have Friendster, please add us there. I have a live journal coming up. I have an Angel Fire page in GeoCities.
Yeah.
There we go.
Look for us on the blogosphere.
There we go. That's it. My AOL
I missed
page
that word.
coming up. There you go.
Do you remember that word?
It's http://w. Yeah. So, all right. Awesome.
Yeah. Coming at you from the information superhighway.
There we go.
The internet.
We have an email, the Left Opposition Podcast @gmail.com. We have Facebook, so facebook.com/the Left Opposition Podcast. That's kind of the main one we're using right now. And I think that's it.
I'll be in Montreal. If anyone's in Montreal this weekend for a Takuthon, come find me. I'll be wearing a Star Trek uniform.
Oh, God damn. Yeah. Oh, that'll narrow it down. Okay. All right. I didn't know you'll be only 7 hours away from me. All right. We're almost close by. All right, everyone. Awesome. All right. Thanks for listening. All right. Peace. We'll see y'all later.
See you later. Okay. Bye.